Welcome back to Kasim and John Teach Google Ads. Why do you laugh when I say that?
I don't know. It's just such a horrible title. I'm sorry, Internet Land. We'll come up with something really good.
We'll come up with something better. I have a question for you, John, since I have you here. Why should you use responsive display ads in Google Ads? Would you?
That's a good question. We should
Isn't it?
probably make a video about that someday.
Let's do that now.
So we actually get this question quite often. And the reason is display ads are very personal. They're personal from a brand perspective. They're personal from a leadership perspective, like a thought leadership, and they're personal from, you have a content department that's making the content, you have a design department that's making the imagery, and everybody wants this perfect image to show up everywhere on Google. And unless you use a responsive display ad, that's not going to happen. And the negatives of a responsive display ad far outweigh the positives. No, the positives far outweigh the negatives. Yes, let's get this.
We're testing you to make sure you're paying attention there.
Yep, rewind it if you missed that. So what we usually see is that when you're building an ad, you want to think about how it's going to be shown, where it's going to be shown, what in the ad is going to be shown, what's not going to be shown. And when you build like a perfect traditional display ad, and not a responsive display ad, I'll get to the differences. But when you build a perfect traditional display, a standard display ad, you actually miss out on, I think now the metric's like 37% of websites. Display in and of itself reaches 90% of internet users, the display channel. But if you use the display traditional and not the responsive display ad, the newer version, if you use the traditional, you only hit, I think, about like 65% of those users. And the reason is a responsive display ad, think of it like a responsive web design. It will change its shape and it will change its content in order to fit within the guidelines of what another website said is restricted to their ad space. So if you have a blog and that person wants to monetize that blog, and they say, you know what, I'm going to sell ads to it, and I'm going to get paid per click because I'm going to put ads on my blog and I'm going to drive traffic to the blog, and that's how I'm going to make my money. Well, you have to take down an account called AdSense, and then AdSense will say, okay, well, what do you want advertised on your site? And you can pick like the topics and that kind of stuff, or leave it open. But you pick the real estate that you dedicate to it. So at the top, I want this thin banner. On the right-hand side, I want one square. On the left-hand side, I want a long vertical banner. And if you just made a perfect square image, because it's nice and symmetrical, it has your image, your logo, and your description, and everything is perfectly in this image, it's only going to show up in the square. It's not going to be in the long banner, and it's not going to be on the right side. And you may not always win that buy box and essentially on the left-hand side. So your ads just may never even be shown when they could have been shown 3 different times.
Let me counter that just for a minute. And I obviously know the answer to what I'm about to ask you, but assume for a minute that we're talking to maybe a more traditional agency and they're used to building the dozen or so multifaceted, multi-shaped images. Why isn't that good enough to where Google can say, oh, okay, you have your tower image, I'm going to use that here. You have your landscape image, I'm going to use that there.
Well, GSP and YouTube have now joined the display network from the traditional display network. Traditional display was just, ads on other websites. Gmail has other sizes that your traditional shapes that used to create are no longer applicable to Gmail. And same with the YouTube. YouTube might have like this thin little banner that's transparent, no logo, just text headline, just text description. Well, your image isn't going to show up on YouTube. You've never seen a YouTube video that the little banner down the bottom is now just a perfect square that takes up half the page. That's not the same size that they need. So they don't actually give you the size recommendations that will fit on every type of website and every type of platform. Because Google AdWords has now changed to Google Ads, it's now much more fluid. And so that's why responsive display ads came out, and it's responsive because it responds to the size and shape. The best part about responsive display ads, though, is think of like Facebook ad groups. They will start to pick and choose the winners, and they will start to show those more often. And let me kind of, I have an example pulled up on my screen, so I'm going to go ahead.
Before you show the example, so one more objection allowed me to that. And this is reeling us back a little bit. A client comes and says, well, that's fine. I don't care. I don't want to use display ads. I don't think they work. Why would I want to be on some guy's blog that has rolled up AdSense? How is that valuable traffic to me?
Yep. So you have to think about, do you want to run remarketing? And do you want all of the capabilities that remarketing has? If you want to run remarketing, which means it doesn't really matter where they're going to show up. They could show up on, websites that you don't even want to be on. But if that's where your audience is, that's been to your website before, that you paid $25 per click to get them to your website and they're still interested, now they're not going to see you anymore until they do that quick search. If they visit websites where those responsive ads don't move. And then at the same time, then you're like, well, then why even run remarketing campaigns if we're not going to use it properly? So just remarketing of itself is reason enough to use responsive display ads. But also, if you're saying, well, I know exactly the ad that I want to create. I know the ad so well that because I know that ad so well, I know the audience needs to go to. Well, where is the audience? Are they on YouTube? You should know that if you know exactly how your ad should look. Are they on Gmail? Are they on every single website that ad can be shown? If you're looking at, they type in these keywords, they visit this website, they look at this. If you know where they are, you'd have to pick and choose, well, okay, I can't show that one, I can't show that one, and I may not be able to show that one, I won't show that one. Now your knowledge basically just hit a halt. It just stopped because now you're saying, I know everything exactly about this person, but nope, I don't want to find them. It's like, okay.
Well, and so to the point that you just made about remarketing, our own campaign for Solutions 8, our cost per lead is something akin to like $450 without remarketing.
Yeah.
With remarketing, it's half that.
Yeah, it's like $2 per lead, yeah.
Doubles the efficacy of our campaigns. And we see
Right.
that with other clients on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, it's always consistent. And like I'll show that example now because I think that this is.
I'm sorry I stopped you. I just wanted to.
No, it makes sense. And we use exclusively responsive display ads. So there's some names in here of a brand of the brand that or the client. So I apologize. I have to show the ad itself, but we're just going to blur out some of the names. But you can see that over here, it's all responsive displays. And what's nice is you'll see something called view asset details. Well, if I view the asset details, what we're going to see is the assets, which is the headline, then a long headline, and then description, and then different images in the logo. And what you're going to notice is I can have one ad have 5 different headlines, one long description. In case you're on YouTube, it only shows a long description. That way you get a very good explanation of your product or service. And then another 5 descriptions. And what it's going to say is, here's the winning combinations. Top image-based combinations, they're going to have this title, this description, and that logo. But your second biggest winning ad doesn't have a logo in it. And then top text-based, which one is the winning headline? Now, if you know your exact ad, this should always be right if you were to run it. And you can actually test that. You can actually run a responsive display campaign, say you choose yours, we'll make 5 different variations, and we'll see if yours is right. Because what's nice about this is you have a wider breadth of audience, and then you'll also have more data to say, what, am I right or am I wrong, or what is actually getting the most amount of activity, what is actually becoming the most attractive to this user, and where, and from what algorithm, what audience. So you allow Google to use its algorithm to say, here's the winning headline, the winning description, the winning image. Don't put a logo here. And also on these placements, you may find that the placement that you didn't want is the best. And you may find that the headline, description, and the image that you thought was the best is not. And all you're doing is just letting yourself win.
Yeah, it's just granular levels of split testing. Do me a favor, go back to the winning combinations.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that they're only displaying one size? Because you have to imagine there would be multiple sizes, distributions, frames. So why is this the way that they're presenting this to us?
Yep. So it's interesting. This is actually, it doesn't tell you conversions, and not yet anyway. So this is actually saying most of the time based on click-through rate and some other small algorithmic, I think, factors. Is it the right audience? Is it the right CPAs? Or is it right? It takes into consideration not just one, but most of them. And essentially what they're saying is the top-based image in this campaign, we only have one image. So it's like, hey, here's your winning image. Well, we know that because we only have one image. This, I'm using a kind of a bad example. This is a campaign that just launched about 7 days ago, and we had to get something up really quickly for pre-sale. And they have multiple images that are going to be coming out, and then they also are working on the YouTube video. But my top image-based combinations, this image wins. Well, it's one image, so that's kind of useless to me right now. But here's the top text-based. And you can see that there are different headlines. So all those 5 headlines, this is the most often one headline when matched with this most winning description. So here's your winning headline and your winning description, and then your second best winning headline and second best winning description, and then third and fourth, fifth. You'll see that there are no 2 combinations are the same. There will be, if you look at the first row, second column, looks the same thing as the second row, third column, but that one on the bottom right is going to be blocked off, but that one has a logo. So that's technically different. So this will tell you what your winning headline, your winning description, and if you have a logo or not.
Sure. Well, and part of what I was driving at, if you scroll up just a little bit, is Google's actually not even showing you the ad that the user is seeing. They're showing you the building blocks of that ad.
The content, right.
Right, which I think is really interesting because normally we expect to see the ad that's being viewed by the user. You're not getting that. You're not getting the end view, the end result, the output, which in a lot of ways is a little scary. You know, like as an advertiser, you're just like, I don't really get to see what it is that my user's exposed to. I get to see the elements that Google has chosen to create the thing that they're exposed to.
Well, they're really practicing what they preach. It's like, give us the best elements, we'll tell you which elements win. You know, they don't care if it was a long skinny or a wide vertical, or like a wide horizontal or a long skinny vertical one. It doesn't really matter how it was resized, but it says, you know, this is the headline that was shown on that, you know, wide vertical one, and that was a description. But you know, if you think about it, the number one on this page may have had 14 different shapes, and that one won, compared to another one that may have had 18 different shapes and didn't perform as well. So you could actually think about, man, if I would have made 18 different versions of the one that I thought was going to win, I could have been wrong. And that was a lot of development time, a lot of costs. So basically it says, we'll build the ad for you, just give us your content. And the nice part about this is it frees people up to not having to be so heavy on content and heavy on design. You know, as long as you have a picture of something, you can run Google Ads. You don't need.
It's going to piss off a lot of agencies. I mean, it goes back. There's a quote by Onyx Segal that I really like. He says that marketing is not a creative endeavor. Marketing is a data-driven endeavor with creative elements, and this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and I keep hearing this too with other Google Ads thought leaders. It's the right message to the right person at the right time. No one ever said the right picture. It's the right message. The message is about content. So it's really funny that this is true. Is it the right message? Here's the correct message. Is it going to the right person? Here's your keywords and audience. And at the right time, how long did it take until they convert or not? I just love that everything that Google does with this. Just because I think
everything Google does in general. I just drank the Kool-Aid.
I know.
Until those idiots start calling you and telling you how to tweak your campaigns, and then I'm just like, will you please stay in your lane?
I'm probably the #1 most hated person at Google, because every single time we launch a new client campaign, I get a phone call. Would you like help setting up? I'm like, I just don't answer them anymore.
Right.
So they probably just have to keep.
You like help destroying your campaigns?
Right. Probably just gonna start messing things up.
Yeah. That's my favorite too. Is when I'm like, somebody, you end up in front of a prospect or whatever, and they're just like, oh no, it's okay, Google's helping me, and I'm like, you'll be back.
Like, just I'll stay on the line.
Right.
I only need about 3 minutes.
Yeah, like just about.
We won't even need to call me back. Just go ahead and talk with them. I'll be here. I'll hold.
So funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. So always use responsive display ads, basically. There's no other option, and if you don't, you're stupid.
And that was kind of cool about it too, is if you wanted to be right, just stop it. And if you wanted to, though, is maybe use responsive ad first. Find the winning image, find the winning headline, find the winning description. Then build the most perfect ad that you want, and then run that alongside of a responsive and see if it still would win. So you still get to have your cake and eat it too, but cake might just taste bad because it might not be what you wanted.
So yeah, well, and the fact that you're not reaching, what did you say, 37%?
Yeah, you're about a third, I would just say.
Okay.
You're not reaching a third of the audience.
Yeah, that alone just it completely makes the case for responsive display ads. There's no reason not to use them in that case.
Right. Forget about automated systematized A/B testing that does it while you sleep. Like,
Yeah.
Who cares about that?
That's awesome. So if you're watching and you have questions, hit us in the comments. Ask your questions. Tell us how much you liked it. Tell us how awesome you think about Harris. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we need more there. There needs to be like some YouTube video creators have like that exit video they do. Jimmy Kimmel has it.
Yeah. I think there's a few people that I follow that do that too. And then they do this thing where they like kind of sit down and they're like, hey, if you like this video, click on that one. And then the video pops up here. We should do that too.
Yeah. I don't know where the stuff is going to be though, so I don't know where to point.
This one?
Yeah. I'll be like,
or
click
this
on the thing. Yeah. We'll tell our editor's name is Jacqueline. Jacqueline, make a thing to click. I don't know what for though.
Just go to Google Ads and then start. And then the other one will be our phone number. So we can just talk about Google Ads.
Speaking of, if you want an action plan, we build action plans for people and we do it for free. So if you're running Google Ads and you're spending enough money to justify our existence, then reach out to us. We'll run an action plan for you and show you everything that's possible. And hopefully you'll be so impressed that you'll be like, I have to hire these guys now.
Yep, can't afford not to.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.